You know the classic hero's journey, right? Some noble call to adventure, a selfless quest, and then they come home a hero. But what if the journey isn't about saving the world? What if it's about taking a piece of it for yourself? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different kind of story, one that's all about self-interest, by following an Irish archer from the 12th century named Cillian. Let's walk the first few steps on this much, much darker path. So, right off the bat, how does an anti-hero's journey even kick off if it's not some selfless call to action? Well, it's not about finding a dragon you need to slay. It's about finding an opportunity you can exploit. It all starts with a complete flip in motivation, away from the greater good and straight towards personal gain. And this is the crucial fork in the road. A traditional hero, they get a call to adventure. A plea to fix a big wrong or save their people. But our anti-hero gets what we call a call to opportunity. It's a chance to grab wealth or status or power. The whole reason for going is completely selfish, and it speaks directly to their own ambition. And that brings us to this key idea, the predatory departure. Think of it as the first act in the anti-hero's playbook, a move that just totally recalibrates the story's moral compass. Instead of leaving home to serve some higher purpose, the protagonist leaves specifically to take something. The entire journey is built on acquisition, not on altruism. Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's see how this actually plays out. We're going to use the story of this guy, Cillian of the Hollow, to see exactly how a world filled with poverty and being an outcast can forge an anti-hero who's ready to jump on any opportunity that comes his way. So let me paint you a picture of Cillian's ordinary world. He's a bothach, which means he's at the absolute bottom of the social ladder in 12th century Ireland. In his little kingdom, the only thing that matters is cattle. That's wealth, and he has zero. He's not some cherished member of the community. He's basically a parasite, a poacher who uses his archery skills just to get by on the fringes, always making sure he's not the one who has to pay the bill. His world is already one of conflict. All right, so his departure happens in these three stages. First, his ordinary world is just this state of constant grinding conflict. Then, the call to opportunity shows up in the form of an Anglo-Norman invasion. He doesn't see this as a tragedy for his people. No, he sees it as a market fluctuation, a business opportunity. And his refusal? It's not because he's scared. It's a refusal of the mediocre. The first offer he gets from his chieftain is just too small for the risk involved. And this quote, it just perfectly sums up his entire mindset. He only decides to actually do something when the local pub runs out of ale and the invaders burn the very fields he used to survive on. That's when he realizes staying put means a slow, sober death. He's not driven by loyalty or patriotism, not at all. He's driven by a cold calculation that war simply offers a better chance at profit than the guarantee of an empty cup. Every journey has a guide, right? But for the anti-hero, that guide isn't there to teach them about virtue. And that leads us to the next critical stage, meeting a corrupting mentor and finally crossing a moral line you can't come back from. Now, this is where a classic storytelling rule gets turned on its head. The anti-hero doesn't meet some wise, kind old wizard. Nope. They meet a dark mentor, someone who teaches them not how to be good, but how to be brutally effective in a ruthless world. And this table just lays it all out. A traditional mentor, they teach you about bravery, about selflessness. A dark mentor, they teach you how to create power vacuums that you can then fill. They don't guide you towards virtue, they take your greed and weaponize it. Their method isn't wisdom, it's just ruthless, practical tactics. So, Cillian's dark mentor is a guy named Old Malachy, a veteran mercenary who made it through the Crusades by being pragmatic, not heroic. Malachy doesn't waste time teaching Cillian about honor. He teaches him to target messengers and officers to create chaos, which in turn creates a demand for his very specific skills, letting him name his own price. This brings us to the point of no return. It's not just about crossing a threshold into some new, special world. It's about crossing the illegal threshold. This is that one moment where the anti-hero makes a conscious choice to live outside the rules of society, and it's almost always sealed with a crystal-clear act of betrayal. And here's how Cillian's big betrayal goes down, in 4 simple steps. His mission is to protect his chieftain's cattle. Instead, he uses his incredible archery range to create an area of denial, keeping everyone away, including his own allies. Then, he cuts a backroom deal, letting a rival Norman lord just waltz in and take the herd, in exchange for a bag of silver. By pocketing the enemy's money while wearing his own clan's colors, he officially graduates from petty thief to full-blown war profiteer. So, what makes a person make these kinds of choices? It's not just chaos for the sake of it. The antihero actually operates on a very specific, self-serving philosophy. Let's break down the core ideas that make up this code. First on the list is honest greed. This is probably the anti-hero's single most defining trait. It's an open, completely unapologetic desire for personal gain. They aren't trying to hide their selfish motives. They're totally upfront about what they want. And that raw desire is what fuels their entire journey. The second pillar of this code is noble power. This is the core belief that the world is a complete mess, and that the only way it can be managed properly is through their own personal control. So it's not just about getting rich. It's this conviction that they and only they are competent enough to bring order to things, even if that order only benefits them. And this quote just nails the whole concept. A hero wants to share the light with everyone. The anti-hero? They seize the lamp, that's the honest greed, because they believe that only they are fit to decide where the light should shine, and that's the noble power. It perfectly sums up their entire worldview. Think about it with this ladder analogy. The hero and the anti-hero both see a ladder. The hero climbs up to bring light back to the room for everybody. The anti-hero, though, uses that exact same ladder to climb down into a private vault, take all the gold, and lock the door behind him. Same tool, totally different purpose. So here's the thing to chew on. We love to celebrate the hero who serves the greater good. Of course we do. But Cillian's journey, which is built on this foundation of honest greed, it forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question. Is this self-serving path, this predatory departure, is it just a more cynical but maybe more realistic reflection of the world we actually live in? Definitely something to think about.